G'day everyone, how's it going? Happy Anzac Day. Very special day that we commemorate, you know, how lucky we are, what our ex-servicemen and current people do to protect us. It's a very special day for me and my family. My mum was only 3 or 4 years old when her father passed away. Robert Lamb, he died a prisoner of war in the prison camp. He was over in Singapore and Thailand. G'day to everyone who's joined and has a look today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening next week. I'm also going to talk about the Jackson Topine situation, which, I was pretty quick onto that last year. Was wondering where he was. Pretty much after that game against the Broncos, we didn't see him again. And I've had a lot to say on that, and nothing much has really changed as far as information, even with the pretty disgraceful article by the Australian, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Say hello if you like. We'll talk about who's going to be in the team next week. Expecting to get a couple of players back. Just finished watching the Anzac Day game. It was like 60-18 when I last looked. So it's good to see the Dragons get absolutely smashed, because there's some players in that side which caused a fair bit of trouble for Canterbury last year, and hopefully they've learned some lessons. But I don't know. I'm a little bit annoyed about the Dragons, and I think the form is starting to show itself, and for Canterbury, that's a really bloody good thing. So just got a temporary setup here while I get my studio together. It's going to be the last thing that gets done in this house. Have to prioritise all the other stuff first. So hope everyone's had a good day, reflecting on how lucky we are. Hopefully people have gone and played some two-up, went to some dawn services, that sort of stuff. Went for a swim in my new pool, which was good, relaxed, spent a day at home. And, finding a whole heap of stuff I can give to charity, which we're going to do. I ran a little competition last week to name the side that they were going to come up with last week. Pretty much every player got one player wrong, or every person who entered, so well done. I will do a draw, and the winner will get a choice of merch. The original comp that we did, Mr. It's Me, he's disappeared. he won. I think he said he won, but he didn't do anything about it. So we'll go through what's going to happen next week. I'll talk about Jackson Topine, and then I'm going to read my diary entry from my grandfather. So he wrote this diary. He started it about 1 year after he was in the prisoner of war camp. It probably go for about 5 minutes. It's just something I want to do. I want to put it out there and share it. And it's especially important because people are privileged to have the talent to play rugby league, in my opinion. It's not a workplace. It's a sport. It's entertainment. We all know that. And they do put their bodies on the line. They work. It's definitely not war, but they use a lot of that mentality. And to hear someone, people feel how they want to feel when they face some sort of adversity or whatever it is, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's with their teammates in the footy, they're being hazed or whatever by their coaches, whatever it is. They can feel however they want to feel, but to try and sue the club for $4 million, I hope he's all right. I always take that into account. But, when people go out there and are doing it so tough every single day, and the stuff that my grandfather went through on a day like this, you know, all he wanted was to be able to get home and have a nice meal, you know, to be able to have some veggies on a plate. And someone's advised Jackson that he needs to sue Canterbury and basically sue rugby league. I feel sorry for the advice that he's got. Really sorry that that someone has told him that he should be, because he was sad and he was upset and it made him cry, that he should be suing the club. I wouldn't care which club this was. I just think it's absolutely tragic. And I know for a fact that there's been boot camps where there's been multiple players who haven't been able to walk afterwards. Ideally, though, their mates have been able to help them out because that's what it's about. But you know, I've coached kids that have had to do laps to the point, to, you know, for discipline and all that sort of stuff, and do extra push-ups and stuff, and it's you know, hurt them. It happened to myself, to the point where I was in tears as a kid. I know grown men don't like crying and stuff, and it hurts, but and it might play with your mental health, but to sue the club for $4 million, are you fucking kidding? So thanks. I'm very grateful people like Braith and Astor and most of the ex-players have come out and basically said, well, that they could all sue the game if that was the case, because, you know, but there are a few divided opinions and we have to see. But I'm going to read out that towards the end. So if you want to listen to that, it's good. It's very moving. I hopefully won't cry, but if I do, I do. Who cares? It's not easy to read, but I just want to put it out there in the YouTube stratosphere. But talking about it, big congratulations to our SG ball side. So Mitch Woods, Alex Conti, Seve, a whole bunch of them. I've just named a few names there. Under 19s, a massive job to get to the grand final. We won Harold Mutts last year. Unfortunately, they just got pipped by this Warriors side, which only just made the finals. The two teams that beat them, they actually only one of those teams had to win to make it, but both those sides ahead of them drew, which is why they made the finals. And then they knocked off Para, and now they've knocked off Canterbury by 2 points. But it was a great effort to make the semi-finals, and they just fell shy by 2 points. But the SG ball side, which was made up a lot of these Harold Mats players from last year that won, they're in the grand final this weekend. So we'll watch them, which will be fantastic. Also, really want to say well done to the Lisa Fiola side, the under-17s girls. They've been amazing all year. And what better way to get our women's NRLW side cranking for next year by having so much youth doing so well. And there'll be Harvey Norman's Women Premiership. That'll be coming up later. It's going to run parallel to the women's NRL. So we'll have a Bulldogs side in that. Probably won't be as strong as it was last year because we had a lot of players that played in that before going into the women's NRL for other sides and stuff. But be interesting to see how many players come back to the Bulldogs for next year. So I'm looking forward to that. So well done to both those sides. That's fantastic. Our Jersey Flag are doing good. New South Wales Cup was a really good win last weekend. A lot of those blokes looked, you know, it was like the whole day we just wanted payback, and I felt that we got it. Would have been nice to see a little bit more payback on the scoreboards, but the New South Wales Cup side, it was a train and run for them. Their forwards dominated early. Katoni, or I forgot the name that he wants to be called now. It starts with G. I can't remember. But Katonga, he had a much better game with the ball. They sort of earned the right early with some great defence, scored straight away, and then it was just basically just they had possession most of the game and put the Knights away, and everyone did their part. There wasn't a bad player out there, and all have put their hands up to make the NRL side at some point. Hearing that Hayes Perham has a chance of going to Hull to join Ockenbaugh and the like, and Mr. and Franklin Pele. So good luck to Hayes if he does do that. You know, I'm not with the New South Wales Cup side or anything, and I don't know, but it's not looking like he's going to get too many chances at NRL this year. So that could be a good move for him. And if he does move, thank you very much for your service, mate. But if not, keep toiling away and see how he goes. First grade, you know, it was a game where I felt we dominated, and we still had a lot of stuff that we can improve on. There was a lot of drop balls. But yeah, we were just better defensively than them. Look, the Knights really did a good job. I think they were really worried about Viliami kick out, which is why I think they left Jack Cogger out, which I thought was a defeatist attitude from the start. By going with Gamble, he just didn't pose any threat. His kicks were too long. He tried hard and he defended all right. But I was really happy with the way they executed those close to the line crush plays. A bit of variation, and Marnie played more direct, which was good. And I felt he was our best player on the field. And Viliami just did his job. He wasn't, you know, making busts down the sideline, but he was doing his crash plays, getting the play the ball away, and we were scoring off the next set. Bronson Cherry, some really good timed runs. They did a fantastic job, and was so proud of them. We could be 6-1 this year. That's the sad part of it, but the good part of it is that we're still in the hunt. It looks like the Dragons will drop below us after this week. The Roosters have probably gone up a little bit. They'll probably get close to the 8 with a big win they've had. But yeah, seeing the Warriors lost today as well to the Titans, so that was big. Yeah, they're not going as well as one would seem. It's still too early in this season. Some teams are just going to keep building and building. We all know the Warriors, teams like the Warriors and Sharks are going to go well through Origin, because they just don't have that representation of Origin players. But although the Sharks have lost Braden Trindle, it looks. G'day, Peter. Why their coach played Ponga, spare me. It's funny you say that, Pete, because Peter Parr come out and shut all that down and said. But anyway, I think we're talking about this. If Kalen Ponga, if they rested him for that game with his hip pointer, I think the Knights would have played better against us. I just think they would have sucked it up, and everyone would have went out there and done their job. But by playing him and then having it turn out the way it did, it just you know, they just put the cue in the rack. But in saying that, I didn't think we were that good in as far as our completions and all that, but we would just look like we were a top 8 side, and they looked like they were a bottom 4 side. The way it went out, the way it was played out, and that's really good reward for us fans and for the team themselves. And now they need to come out next week and smash the Tigers. So looking at the Tigers game, I'd suggest that Kurt Mann and Jacob Preston will be back. That's what everyone's saying. It's what the coach is hoping for. I think if they're not right, they won't play them, because there is a bit of confidence in the squad. But for them to come in, obviously Chris Patolo has done an MCL, we think. So we lost him in that first minute of that game as well. We've been doing that all year. So we were under a bit of sufferance as well, losing that rotation. Smallest bench you've ever seen, and it did really, really well. So let's think who's going to drop out of the side. You know, you can't. There is a pecking order, and Kurt Mann and Jacob Preston are a part of our core group. And I talk about the core group. The core group get picked if they're fit and say they're fit, and do everything they can to be on the field. They're going to get picked ahead of someone, even if they've had a really good game, replacing them. That other person's going to make way. So Jacob Preston comes back into the squad, and Kurt Mann does as well. They're both part of that. You could add Max King, Josh Curran, the Fox, Jacob Kiraz. I think you can add Blake Taff and Connor Tracy to that as well. Stephen Crichton and Matt Burton, obviously, those two, and Reed Marnie's the other one. And obviously Viliami Kickout. Those players, it's just good that we've got so many players now that we can rattle off and say these players are getting picked every week, unless their form tailors off badly. Huge team effort, hard to pick him out of the match. Well, as you said, mate, Margo, well, I know Reed Marnie was Margo's man of the match, and Margo knows football, and the Dogfather was gave that a glowing endorsement as well. So he just got back from England. He's been scouting some new talent from over there, but we'll see. So yeah, with Jacob Preston coming in, then we've got to see what happens. I think Bailey Haywood's the one that drops out straight up with Chris Patolo, and then we get Kurt Mann and Jacob Preston. So I guess we've lost a big fella and a little fella, but we've got two competent replacements. So that's who I think will make way. I think Kurt Mann just comes straight onto the bench as the small lock. Maybe he'll start and they'll bring Salmon back to the bench. Preston obviously goes to the right edge, but I think that's your two replacements, and everything else will stay the same. Drew Hutchison. So it's good to see that the club and some of the media have got onto that. The fact that he was cheered for being replaced, and some of the groups, most of the groups have come around and are saying the right stuff now, but a lot of them, in my opinion, have been enabling this sort of behaviour, because essentially why you want people to have constructive criticism and you want people to be able to express themselves freely, and that's what Anzac Day is about, isn't it? Yeah, freedom of speech, freedom to say things safely without being ridiculed and whatever else. But I think there's a difference between allowing free speech and stopping people from being absolute grubs about it. And there's been too much grubbery, and to celebrate a player coming, it's not like Blake Taff was Josh Reynolds being cheered for finally getting on the field because he's Josh Reynolds. Let's hope that he turns into that player. Myself and Pete and many of the fans have been big fans of Blake Taff and want him in the side and want him to do well. There's a lot of us that love Toby Sexton as well and hope that he puts his best foot forward, but he may end up, there's rumours going around that he's going to leave. I don't think that's the case, but you wouldn't blame him, because we've got a lot coming through. Joey O'Neill, he looks sensational to me. Mitch Woods in behind him. I think those two will eventually force the likes of Matt Burton into another position. But I'm talking a few years here, okay? Getting ahead of myself. Nice article on Joash Papali as well, so well done to him, putting his hand up saying he wants to play. Drew has been good. People don't see the little important things that he does. You're right about that, Pete. I've been watching the last few weeks, especially. Him and Burton have been both playing both sides of the field and linking up real well. but it's the way they get back into the defensive line, and it's the communication. I think he's basically telling Marnie what he wants, and there's a couple of times where he's turned the back in another way, and he's deciding whether it's going left or right, and a lot of the setup plays as well. I think what most people allude to is when they say that he runs it himself on that right edge. That's frustrating some people, but what they're not noticing, Pete, and I think you're noticing it, is that opposition teams can sort of see what he's doing. I don't think that right edge is natural for him. It's not necessarily natural for Burton either, and that's why it's a work in progress, right? And I think that because he's doing all these other effort plays so well, you can't not pick him, because defensively the team's got confidence to back itself. And if they keep grinding and doing these plays, they're showing they can score points. They've scored 30-plus points for not much return twice already this year, and a couple, in some really good defensive games. And that first game, we had no possession. Second game, we should have led 18-6 at half time. This season hasn't been too bad, to be honest. It looks pretty good. And someone like Drew Hutchison is a big part of that, and he deserves respect. He doesn't deserve to be ridiculed. And, there's all these podcasts who just going on, oh, Drew, we need to change the 7, yada, yada, yada. But good on them. But honestly, some people just want to be popular and take the popular opinion, because the popular opinion is good for their algorithm and how many views they get and stuff like that. We just talk what we think is right. 100%, Pete. He's definitely freed Matt Burtner, and Matt's getting more confident every game. You can see that. And they're just doing their job. There's steel about them. They just know that they can throw punches and have another crack. They're going to have ups and downs through the season. It's a long season. We know that. And I think other people will play their part, other halves. There's still an evolution happening there with this side. But as far as the 17 that's getting picked in that main core, they are telling their coach, they have trust in, the coach has trust in them, they have trust in the coach, they have trust in each other, and that's what it's all about. So I just hope that fans can stick up for Drew and hope that he can do a really good job and not be so quick to, dismiss what's going on. But what I was saying is that other teams are sort of noticing that it's not sort of natural. It's a bit telegraphed on that right edge, and they're doing rush plays so that when they get their line speed up, their left edge runs up to defend our right. That's sort of spooking Drew into not passing it and running back. But he's definitely butchered a couple, but who hasn't? Bronson's butchered 3 or 4 already as well. But that's what you got to do. Sometimes if you throw the ball every time, people know what you're going to do. You've got to sort of have some variation, and I feel the variation's been there. But they're butchered tries. Every club butchers tries every week. You're never perfect. I think for Canterbury, though, it's just been such a drought for us. It's been such a long drought. I'll talk about that in a second too, Pete. But it's just been such a drought that we've had to take all our opportunities when they've come up. And that's why we've been so critical, because, we might only get 4 or 5 in a match. And if we butcher 2 or 3, we're done. Whereas now I feel that we're creating so much more. Our side is sitting second for line breaks and line break assists. And funnily enough, Drew Hutchison's as a halfback's right up there in try involvements, which is fantastic. And so is Matty Burton. The interchange is much improved this year. Yeah, I think so as well. I think Craig Bellamy said it best, Pete. He said that Canterbury are a really good side, and the way that they're playing for the team that they've picked is part of the reason they're doing so well. And it's definitely got to do with that defensive system. One thing you see is that they're alternating and backing each other up really well in defence. So there's hardly been a time where they've been stranded with no markers, which has happened to us numerous times in the last 2 or 3 years. And that line speed is always there. So even if there's less players in the line, the other player comes back and clogs the hole. The others run up in a line and put the pressure on, and they're just restricting the time of the other players. And I've read some good stuff. I forgot where it come from, but I'm going to share it on our All Things Bulldogs page eventually. Some really strong analysis of what Canterbury are doing really well. Now, we're actually letting teams start their first tackle. We're one of the, they're starting at around the 30-metre line a lot. But we're actually the best team at restricting metres from the first through to the fifth tackle, which is all about line speed. And you hate to talk about Penrith, but that's what their defence has been built on. You watch those Roosters sides that won in 2018, 2019, even back in the days when it was the 2004 Bulldogs, it was that line speed of the Roosters which was the best in the competition. And that's what's winning. It's still the same formula. That's what's winning premierships, is that line speed. And I haven't seen a Canterbury team with that line speed for such a long time. I just hope they can maintain it for 27 rounds. Their fitness is definitely a lot better. And that's helping. And the fact that they are able to alternate so well in that defensive line is really helping getting things happening. And off the defence, they're doing good stuff with their attack. And we're the number one team for repelling sets within our own 20-metre line. And we are the number one side for reducing metres between the first tackle and the fifth tackle. So that's really good. And as far as our metres go, see, our post-contact isn't very good in itself. But per run, we're restricting the post-contact of the opposition, their average per run, a lot. And that's leaving us with a positive result. These are all stats that I've been looking at, which you don't get for your normal, fantasy league and all that sort of stuff on NRL. Like, this is the actual game and where it's played between, what part of the field they play in and all that sort of stuff. And it just opens your mind up. And when you go and watch it and see it and see how the stats are telling that story, it's a really good sign for the Dogs. And you watch some of these results and you go, God, we're better than these sides right now. And I feel we've got a lot more improvement in us. I really do. I think we've got a heap of improvement in us. These sides have as well. I feel most sides have improved. A couple have regressed. But I place us right up there at the moment. I don't want to say we're in the top 8 side yet. But I just feel that we're playing better than a lot of teams and seem more connected. And, if they can stay in the hunt, like, this is a magnificent training performance by the coach. I feel he's learned a lot. They've got rid of a lot of the chaff. I saw some of that chaff playing today for the Dragons. And when the going got tough, they weren't there. And that's why they're no longer a Canterbury. Maybe I'm a bit biased. Gav Bray, when you get your defence right, attack always comes. 100%, Gav. The contact, aggression, line speed, defence is so much better this year. Last year we were passive and got steamrolled by everyone. I've been passive for a long time, brother. And, the worst game was a game we lost by 4 points against the Raiders. It was at Magic Round. This is when when it all went to shit. Corey Horsburgh, the Sook, he ran straight at bloody Reed Marnie. There were no other forwards there, and then he was able to hold on to 2 other props who came in slowly. There was no cohesion in the defensive line, and Yeah, I think he had like 50 metres post contact from his first 2 or 3 runs. And that's just something that, I can't believe we got so close to winning that game. It just shows you the talent in our side. And there is attacking talent there. There's a lot. They just have to unlock it. And I think they've found players that are there to unlock the talent in the team, and they're doing it. And we're fast. Who's that? Scankant. G'day, mate. I'm loving Tracy at fullback. I seriously think he could be the regular NRL fullback. I've been watching him for years, even at the Sharks, and he just doesn't stop. He's got a good engine on him. Well, he's in that same mould, isn't he? He's in that same mould of your Dylan Edwardses and the like. And, and you look at the Brian To'os and the Taruvas, like even those guys who are on the wing, those small, nuggety, fast, strong, tough, got footwork as well, just don't stop working. We just haven't had enough of those players in our club. And we've suddenly got some. And they're going good. They're going good. And they look like Bulldogs players. And that's another thing is we're starting to feel as fans, I think you're starting to feel it, that you're seeing players there that are going out there and you're like, this is Bulldogs. This is us, it's not Penrith. It's not other teams. We might be getting we might have got a lot of players from other sides, but there's just this Bulldog flavour about it, and I fucking love it. I think we're second in the comp for line breaks, so we're creating plenty of opportunities. Good signs. G'day, Dave. How you going, mate? We are second for line breaks. And, it's such a, I talk about Hollywood moments, and as a fan, you get drawn into them. You're hoping to see that bust happen and that line break happen. But when you go back and watch it and you study it, which I love to do because I just love the game, and you watch other games as well, and it's like that just didn't happen through individual brilliance. There's a few players in the game who can do stuff like that. But it's like, there was a try we got against the Titans at the end of last year where Toby, I think Toby Sexton played the ball. Jake Averillo, I think, went in a dummy half, and he called the shot out and threw the ball out to Matt Burton, who threw it straight to the Fox, and the Fox did the rest and ran 80 metres. But they knew what they were doing there. And I actually saw that they actually tried that play a couple of times in the last 2 games and almost made breaks from it. And the Fox was ready for it. That's another thing I want to talk about. The Fox, he's got his confidence in the contact back. He had it at the start of the year. That first hit they put on him from the Sharks really hurt him. And his comeback game against Souths, he was timid and then got smashed in the head. But since he's come back, he's ready for the contact again. And I think that's a great sign for the Fox because he knows he needs to do more of the tough stuff for us. Good, mate, go the Dogs. And that's just a great sign that one of your leaders, one of your players that's got such speed and ability and such a, favourite amongst the kids and amongst the crowd and amongst most fans. The fact that he's gone on and put weight on and put muscle on and changed some things about himself is just a credit to him. And I think that lifts the club. That just adds to the vibe, you know what I mean? And that's, look, we don't want a situation where the Jersey Flag kids are teaching the first grade kids a lesson in attitude and effort. It's got to be coming from the NRL side, because when you've got it coming from the NRL side, that's all the kids have to break down that wall to be a part of it, and they will, and they'll be better for it. And I just wish that Jackson Topine, I'll talk about it again, could have seen that. because I just felt he was getting lower and lower in the pecking order after being talked up every year as being about to break through. And then that's a pretty good segue to talk about him. Because what I saw in that when I went for Josh Reynolds' day was a guy who was soft on the contact, and 3 tries went straight over him. And I just felt that he'd been such a pivotal part of our defence in New South Wales Cup that season. He'd done a great job. He'd earned his spot. He had a good game the week before. But then, yeah, against the Broncos, I felt, I reckon his game review would have been really, really poor. And I think that's where, this is just my opinion, and I don't know, but knowing what coaches say to players and stuff after they fail, I think his review would have been very, very poor, and I think he would have been feeling on the outer from that point. And I think he wouldn't have been picked the next week regardless. That's my opinion. And from that point is the timeline when the incidents happened. And I think there would have been a little bit of, we need to toughen this bloke up and show him that he's not a first grader yet, and if he wants to be, and then he's turned up late to training, and all that stuff's happened. Skankunk, that man only dies doing him wonders. He hasn't lost his speed either. So great sides indeed, mate. 100%, brother. So Jackson Topine. So I'm really glad that Braith and Astor and most of the ex-players have taken the side of the game and of the Bulldogs club, that, a bit of hazing. The words that were used in the article from News Corp were disgraceful. Now, the Australian paper said when they actually start, the way they wrote some of those lines in that article were absolutely disgusting. They said that Canterbury were using harsh training methods in relation to when Raymond Fatala-Mariner went to speak to Ciro on behalf of 10 other players, which is what was mentioned, saying that they were struggling with the long hours and they needed to spend more time with their families and stuff. And apparently his response was, if they don't like it, there's the fucking door. And what else would you expect a NRL rugby league coach to say? Okay, well, let's set up a meeting and discuss their concerns and see what happens. Not after the fucking shit that had been going on in the club and some of those losses. Are you fucking kidding me? No. And you'll notice there's a whole bunch of people not in our club anymore. And I would suggest that there's not too many people that were represented in that conversation that are still in our club. And if they are, obviously they've learned a lesson. Or maybe they haven't. We don't know. But, maybe Ciro could have been a little bit more constructive with the way he went about it. Who fucking knows? But he's the coach. He's the one getting paid the big bucks to turn it around. If you're going to come there as a leader of the people, a leader of men, and you haven't spoke to those guys that come to you as a group, said we don't like the long hours and all this bullshit. Well, as a leader, you go, if you're a leader and you're going to raise long hours on behalf of, that just does my fucking head in. If, in business and stuff that I've been in, if I've ever gone to my bosses to say, that people don't like the hours they're doing or whatever, as a group, you'd just be fucking losing your job. They'd be kicking you out somehow. They might not tell you to fuck off in a workplace, but you'll soon find out that They don't have to say what their actions will show you that, yeah, they'll be telling you to fuck off. He's on the tools. Laundry will take care of it. Utter crap media has voiced. Yeah. I think that it's just really fucking sad. Just the timing of it. Because, you know, this time of year I get fucking sad about Anzac Day, you know. Everyone's got their own reasons and it means different things to different people and whatever else. But to know what my grandfather went through to defend the country, to give people the freedom to feel how they want to feel and say what they want to fucking say and do what they want to do. But if you're in a privileged position earning hundreds of thousands of dollars to play sport, to be there in that sort of mateship and camaraderie, and you know, to use words such as corporal punishment, corporal fucking punishment, because he cried. So he comes home and he starts crying and breaks down because it got to him, right? And I can fucking, that's what happens sometimes. But to sit there and then sue the fucking club, are you kidding me? It'd be one thing to, you know, to take personal leave and to get over it. Oh, that's fine. And if you're broken from it, that's fine. You know, get mental help. The club, I'm sure, was happy to do all that. But then to try and sue the fucking club for money because you can't handle the adversity of training and being hazed. Hazing's part of every fucking workplace. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. You haze people. People come back from annual leave. First thing you do is haze them to get them so they know they're back at fucking work and it's not a holiday anymore. You know, how's your holiday? Oh, that's good. Well, I've got this, and this for you to do. Oh, did you put on weight? I wouldn't say that, but whatever, mate. A bit of fucking hazing's fine. No, leave him on the ground. Don't help him up. He was late. How are you going to trust this bloke to fucking tackle? We just saw him fucking let him 3 tries on the weekend on Josh Reynolds' special day against the Broncos, against those dogs. You know, let him fucking. It doesn't matter if it doesn't even matter if he thinks he was on time. If your boss says you're late, you're fucking late. That's all there is to it. You just get on with it. That's the way it works in this country. We don't have to feel sorry for ourselves. And I'm a very fucking understanding sort of person, you know. But to sit there and whoever's given him advice, it's really sad. Gav Ray. It's really sad. Topine, he had so much potential. Well, he still does. I understand he feels signalled out and ridiculed, but to drag the club and competition through the mud, it's not a good look for him. Well, that's the whole thing. You know, when people, and this is a society thing, right, as well. You know, I used to get my ass flogged if I wasn't home by the light. If the lights were fucking went off in the street and I wasn't home, my ass would get flogged, right? And for some kids, they get the fucking ironing cord or whatever it was. I'd get the wooden spoon. Other kids would get grounded, whatever it fucking was. You knew that you had to be home. And if you weren't, you knew that you were going to, whatever you were doing, you sort of weighed that up because you knew you weren't going to get away with it. You know, you can't even raise your hand to a kid these days without him crumbling. And I get that. Things do change, and I understand things change. And I'm sure it was hard for him. But you're right, Gav, to sit there and to drag the club through the mud, to not try and get some sort of resolution. And I suppose we can't say that he didn't try and do that, but we heard the words that came through. You see, Buzz Rothfield went out there straight away and was saying he's vowed to never play for the club again. So whoever was representing Jackson and whoever was representing him and giving him advice has enabled him to, you know, take this route. And I just think it's ridiculous. I really do. Anyway, I'm fired up about it. I'm going to do a tribute. I hope you want to listen to this. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's to my grandfather. He wrote a diary after 12 months of being a prisoner of war. He was in the Changi camp. He helped build the railway out there, and he wrote this to my grandmother and to my mum. So I'm just going to do it. It says, to Viti, my darling wife, also my daughter, Denise Jeffrey. My mum died in 13, I'm sorry. All right. And they lived in Cootamundra. The team that plays for Cootamundra were the Cootamundra Bulldogs, the blue and white Bulldogs of Cootamundra. And they supported the Cootamundra Bulldogs before they supported Canterbury. And Canterbury sort of hadn't really, they only just started not long before this had happened. So today's the 19th of February 1943. We've been prisoners a little over 12 months and have still been lucky enough to be kept on the island of Singapore. I'm writing this just in case I may not come through the remainder of our prisoner of war days. Food's becoming less every day, and unless something in the way of food turns up, a lot of us may not get out. Haven't had any complaints to make, Viti. I still think I did the right thing in joining up. Us fighting the enemy on someone else's dunghill is better than on our own, as it makes a decent mess. Never had a show of winning from the beginning. No planes or navy, not near enough men, no fortifications on the island, just another big bluff of England's that these little fellas knew all about. So England, they lied to us in Gallipoli. They did the same thing in World War II. And, you know, it's said in that first paragraph. And I don't think enough gets said about it, to be honest. I've had good health of late, but we're scared of dysentery breaking out, which is the reason for this letter, as it strikes pretty sudden. Rice is our diet and little of that at present. If I do pass out, duck, you'll get this one day, as some others will get out. If I do pass out, duck, you'll get this one day, as some others will get out. So I'd look after the champ and love to my mum, Dolly and Pop, and remember the good days, Viti, not the bad, as we've had some of both. Best of the best to you. So that was in February. 3 months later, May 5th, 1943, I have moved from Changi prison camp, where we now are near the Burma border, real virgin country, going to finish off a railway head. Things are really tough now, the worst. It's the worst we've had yet. We've marched up to date about 135 miles. We go at night still, have a few more miles before we hit our main camp. Hellish conditions and hot. I ran close to the Cooter boys the other day, but I didn't get a chance to say hello. We arrived at our working camp on the 10th of May and left Singapore the 19th of April. The train to Bampong arrived on the 25th of April, and it was 160 miles to here. 19th of May. Working on the road, food is now plain rice 3 times a day with an onion mortar stew, about 2 cups each. Cholera is broken out in the camp above us. It looks bad, but I'll still get home, old pal. The big heart is carrying on as usual, but things are really tough now. The things we make feeds out of would kill an average man. My friend Jack Lonsdale killed a yak for the nips. Sorry about any racism stuff. That's what they called the Japs back then. We had a blowout of broth for tea, and today we have a little left. On the 24th of May, that was my 2-year anniversary of being in the army. So from joining up to arriving, they pretty much got caught as prisoner of war straight away, and then spent the rest of the war there. So they didn't really get to fight or do anything except be prisoners of war, due to the lies from the English. 26th of May, 43, cholera broke out here yesterday. Private O'Shea died this morning. We've got 2 other cases, and we've stopped work till it's all checked. Things are getting ticklish now. 28th of May, 43. I'm suffering from malaria, my first attack. Camp is full of it. This particular country is the worst in the world for a white man. Private Callamack died last night, one of our boys. He was in our tent, so today we're all in isolation. A good man is gone. 29th of May, much better today, headache and pain gone. Lucky the RAP have malaria tablets, knock one about, but they do the job. 31st of May, food critical, 2 meals now for 4 days, can't get food to us now. 1st of June, the food's still terrible, we are starving slowly. What a price we're paying for being patriotic men. Going down every day with sickness, but I'm going to take some killing, my love, as I must get home to see you all again. These Aussies have the guts of 10 men, the way they've come through these terrible ordeals. 2nd of June, 43. Jack and the boys pinched and killed a yak, and it was good as we were bloody starving. Feeling better now, but for how long? I've visualised some great meals when I get home. Going to keep you busy, love, but you'll have to get your hand in again. 7th of June, 1943. That was his anniversary to my grandmother Veedy. 8 years married today, Veedy. Couple of good years gone to waste. Still on 2 rice meals per day. I'm getting hellish weak and we are thin. We could ride the lightweight in the Melbourne Cup. 8th of June. Shifting up further. Hope to be able to get a little better fed. It rains every day now. There's monsoons and melting, and the prime hope of release now is not until after November. 12th of June, 43. I'm getting better fed, 2 meals of rice and a little yak if we can get our hands on any. Eating grass bulbs and creepers. Working outside as we are 49 miles from the Burma Road. 14th of June. I've got dysentery now, but seem to have it well up hand. I'm terribly thin. We'll need plenty of light diets when you get me home. 18th of June. I'm leaving Nikki. Must have got a shock. Have to go back over the terrible journey. Men are dying fast and we have to keep coming back to help the sick men now. Hope we're able to relate these ordeals. 21st of June. Have made 160 miles to Concreta camp. From Nikki to Ben Pong is 180 miles, so we still have quite a hike if we have to go back to there. We're still on dry rice, so they're eating dry rice. The roads are impassable to anything bar men. It's mud up to the knees. You'll never believe the stories of these hell trips. What men can go through and live. Hope I can. I dream of Wagga Wagga. I dream of Wagga and a bakery because it's near Mum's. Comradeship is coming out and we owe it to ourselves to look one another up on Anzac days and a few days to gather to drink beer. So the Anzac Day tradition was still strong, even in its infancy from World War One. I know it won't be hard for me. I hope if I topple over now, Veedy, you'll have as much as when we were married. So do the right thing and get into some little shop where you can keep Danny and yourself for life. You can know if you try and get all the assistance you can from the Returned Soldiers League. 22nd of June. I got onto a few bananas today, not bad with dry rice. We mix them together and grill the patties on the coals. Real boring having a day off today. I did too much yesterday. I brought on the dysentery again and I've been pulling the yak drays. The bullocks wouldn't. So in we went, but what a life. Mud and yak shit for miles up to the belly at times. 23rd of June. I've been talking good meals. Paddy's going to send me 1 dozen Bell's blackberry jams because I'm going to have a cow. Dave Fisher from Queensland is going to send me mangoes, so that's just a start. 28th of June, 43. We've had 6 days of more hell, men collapsing and dying along the muddy road. The few fit men like myself are trying to keep up as carriers, but we're still trying to keep health too. But we look like we're all going to go down. Nearly finished. 1st of July 1943. Had a slight let up for 3 days. I've been to work myself, going out tomorrow. Boys are still dying of cholera. It pitched 5 guys today already. I'm having a good stew on now. God, I'm weak. We all are. 6th of July 43. 3 days ago, we left camp for more marching. This time leaving our sick. 2 more died at that camp. And we're supposed to be left in this place for 2 more months. The food here is better. There's more veggies and fish dried, but it's wonderful to plain rice. I'm working the railroad again. It's very heavy to us now. We're so sick and weak. Few days at camp active, CQ, MSQ. 10th of July 1943. 2 more deaths. I'm okay myself. And that was the last thing he wrote. I've got the diary. The last few paragraphs were written on with such little space. He actually died on the 20th of July 1943, so he died 10 days later. And he's buried at the so he was Corporal Robert Lamb in the Australian Army. He enlisted at South Yarra. He was born in Broken Hill in 1911. And yeah, got a letter from the Queen when he died and all that. Got his medals, which my son wore on Anzac Day a couple of years ago in cadets. But there you go. That's why I take a bit of offence. Yeah, that's why I take a bit of offence at a lot of the soft stuff that goes on. And even the stuff I carry on about is probably not doing us any favours. But thanks, Pete. Yellow first, red. We'll remember them always. Good night all and go the doggies. 100%, mate. I was going to say something, but I think that'll be it for tonight. Really good job by the Bulldogs. It's coming along nicely. I think there'll be some more ups and downs. It's not a quick fix, but they're starting to play like Bulldogs should. And, you know, we're getting the right people to the club. And the way they're playing is going to attract good players to the club. That's how it works. So they're playing for themselves, but also for the players potentially to take some of their spots, which is means the club's got buy-in. And those kids have a good example. They're setting good examples themselves, and they're having good examples set for them. We're just over a quarter of the way into the season. It all starts with West Tigers next week. That'll be a game where we've had a longer turnaround than in our opposition for the first time this year, and we need to make the most of it. Hopefully they go out there and are desperate like they've been. If they keep doing what they're doing, hold possession and execute, they can beat this West Tigers side who I rate. And then it's the Panthers. So we're going to do the Tigers, then it's the Panthers. I think what the Dragons and the Raiders up, the Raiders and the Dragons after that. You know, there's no reason this Bulldog side can't acquit themselves well in all these matches and still have ourselves in good contention for this season, because it is 2024 and it's been 20 years since we won the comp. It's the second decade. There's the hope's there, guys. The hope's there. But thanks for those who listen in on Anzac Day. Lest we forget. And thanks so much, everyone. Go the Dogs, and good luck to our teams on the weekend. Can't wait to watch that. Take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments. And I will see you all shortly.